Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. Council is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is open for public attendance. However, councillors and members of the public may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. If you've submitted a comment request, the chair will call on you at the appropriate time. The chair may also ask for comments and concerns from the public relating to a particular topic. And at this time, phone lines will be unmuted. If you would like to speak, please state your name. We ask that only one member of the public speak at a time, and all persons will be allotted 10 minutes to speak as per our procedural bylaw. We ask that if the meeting recesses, any callers hang up and call back in as the meeting reconvenes. This helps with call quality. Please note this meeting is being recorded and may be uploaded to our website and/or social media. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone during the meeting. We also ask all attendees to please mute their devices to reduce disruptions to the meeting. Everyone has a right to be present at council meetings and council committee meetings. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair as per the MGA Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. Deputy Reeve Clausen and Councillor Kester have sent their regrets this morning. We have an agenda before us. Does anybody have any additions or changes? If not, a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor Laprise. Any questions or discussion? We will vote via eScribe. I saw motion was carried. Was just missing one vote. We're all on a learning curve as we implement the new system. Yep, absolutely. Yep, you betcha. So I'll call a question on the agenda. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Motion is carried. We had the minutes from our September 19th regular council meeting. Did anybody see any errors or omissions? If not, a motion to approve as presented.
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor Bigger. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 2.11.
Hi, Jessica Russell with Planning and Development Services, presenting bylaw 2023-14 to redesignate a plus or minus 6.19 hectare portion of land from multiple districts to the Speargrass Special Medium Density Residential District. The application proposes to redesignate the following areas to the Speargrass Special Medium Density Residential District. A plus or minus 3.8 hectare portion of the Southwest Quarter, Section 5, Township 22, Range 25, west of the 4th Meridian, currently designated Agriculture General District. A plus or minus 0.19 hectare portion of Lot 2, Block 1, Plan 0211957, currently designated Speargrass Low Density Residential District. And a plus or minus 2.2 hectare portion of Lot 3, Block 1, Plan 0211957, designated Parks and Recreation District. The subject lands are located on the westernmost edge of Speargrass Boulevard within the Speargrass community. The purpose of the proposal is to facilitate a future boundary adjustment to allow for the reconfiguration of the Speargrass Golf Course and the construction of a driving range and practice facility. The proposal is consistent with the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, the Regional Growth Management Strategy, the Municipal Development Plan, the Land Use Bylaw, the Speargrass Area Structure Plan, the Speargrass 2 Area Structure Plan, and the Intermunicipal Development Plan between Balcombe County and Wheatland County. Administration is recommending that the Municipal Planning Commission grant first reading of bylaw 2023-14. That concludes the presentation of bylaw 2023-14, and I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding first reading?
Is it medium density residential for the rest of the golf course too? I would say like to the north. I just don't understand the medium residential if it's for the golf course.
I believe, yes, I believe like parts of it are part of that medium special residential density. And then they're proposing to redesignate just to match the rest of the golf course.
Okay. And what's the difference between medium and low for Speargrass? Is it villas versus houses?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Larson.
I think just a clarification point. I think you said Municipal Planning Commission should.
Oh, pardon me.
Should be council.
Council, pardon me.
Thank you. Any other questions? Council's wishes.
I'll move that council approve first reading for bylaw 2023-14. This being a bylaw for the purpose of amending bylaw, our land use bylaw number 201601 to redesignate portions of the subject lands from Agriculture General District, Speargrass Low Density Residential District, and Parks and Recreation District to Speargrass Special Medium Destination Residential District as shown on the attached Schedule A, forming part of this bylaw.
Councillor Bigger has moved the recommended motion. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. Council's wishes regarding scheduling a public hearing.
I'll move that a public hearing of bylaw 2023-14 be scheduled for November 21st, 2023 at 9 a.m. in Wheatland County Office Chambers.
Thank you, Councillor Eichert. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 2.12. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Tracy from Administration. I am very pleased to present third reading of Procedure Bylaw 2023-03. So as you are aware, at the last regular meeting of Council, we had one amendment to the bylaw, and that was to add the words "or open house" to section 14. So divisional town hall or open house. And that change was made. And also section 76 was discussed, and that was before considering motions arising from a closed session, the chair of the meeting will provide reasonable notice to the public that the meeting is now open to the public and will allow sufficient time for the public to return. Administration is recommending not amending that section because what we are creating is a procedure, and with technology changing and software changes, improvements, the procedure could change quite often. So rather, I'm recommending just leaving that section as is, and we'll create a procedure that will follow. So the procedure that administration is recommending that council hold in camera in their committee meeting room. It's now been changed to a Teams room as well. And that way, out here, staff is able to put callers on mute. And then very close to when in-camera is over, staff can be called. Staff will come in, make an announcement, unmute, make an announcement. The session will resume, or the regular meeting will resume in about 5 minutes. And so the thought is that likely by the time in-camera ends and staff returns, and the public returns from outside and staff or council gets back, it's likely about 5 minutes. And then we would continue the meeting. So if council is okay with that procedure, we had another option, but it would be much lengthier.
Any questions or discussion on the procedure? I think it's great. I think as long as we have some kind of process. So if there are folks on the line that would be interested in potential motions arising, that we have a mechanism to let them know when we would be coming out. And I think that works well. I appreciate administration developing the procedure, and I think we're meeting our legislative requirements, and appreciate that the bylaw, I agree. I think the bylaw is strong the way that it is. I just, especially as chair, I wanted to know how we would actually action that piece. So grateful for all your work on that. Any other questions or discussion? Council's wishes.
I'll move that council approves third reading of Procedure Bylaw 2023-03.
Thank you, Councillor Laprise. Any debate? If not, I'll call the question. Motion is carried.
Thank you. And if I could just add a couple other things. So in front of, on the desk attached is a cheat sheet for legislation for each section of the bylaw. And basically, it's listed in order of each section, and it talks about whether you can debate and whether you can amend. Yeah, and so that was to help you if you needed that. As well, we've also created a template, which I'll hand out, and one is council motion without notice, and again, just a template, and then another one, notice of motion as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I think that's a great tool for us, especially as we become accustomed to the new procedure bylaw. So Thank you for providing those.
And last note, we may be changing the agenda just to match the procedure bylaw as well, adding in the consent agenda and a few things like that. But we will present that to you prior.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will move to agenda item 3.1. My report is in the package. starting on page 78. Just a couple things to highlight. I appreciate council support in attending the Community Futures Network of Alberta Symposium and the AGM. I did have an opportunity to chat with the Assistant Deputy Minister for Prairies Economic Development Canada. Their division is very excited about the development that's happening in the region, and we're looking for ways that we might optimize and leverage those opportunities. So that was a good meeting there. We also met with PrairiesCan, has had some changes to several of their key positions that oversee the Community Futures program. So at the AGM, it was a good opportunity, and at the symposium the day before, it was a good opportunity to chat with some of the new administrators that are overseeing the program for the government. And we also did have a meeting with them following the AGM just to go over some specific discussion points around the funding for Community Futures and future advocacy that we may be able to do regarding that. It was a good AGM. It was actually really good too. We heard strong support from the federal representatives just in terms of advocating with us for increased funding, and we hadn't always perceived that as the case from the representatives that we had met with previously. And then I also just want to thank administration for organizing the tour of Nutrien Carseland Nitrogen. It was just an incredible tour actually to see the scale of the work and the production that goes on there, and just their commitment to responsible production. I believe they said, actually I shouldn't even guess a time frame, but they've had several years with no work related like lost time injuries, significant focus on safe working conditions for the employees there and the team at Nutrien. It was just, I was grateful for the opportunity to see the plant and to meet some of the employees, and yeah, just obviously a significant contributor as one of our key industries in the county, and for what they contribute to agriculture as well. So thank you for that opportunity. With that, I will move the adoption of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions. Call the question. Motion is carried. I don't believe there was a Deputy Reeves report included in the package, so perhaps Deputy Reeve Clausen. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even look. My apologies. We have a report submitted by Deputy Reeve Clausen that's been circulated. Does everybody have a copy? Perhaps we can, if somebody could move approval, and we could defer any questions till Deputy Reeve Clausen's returned.
I will move Deputy Reeve Clausen's report and defer any questions until next time he's here.
Thank you, Councillor Eichert. Would administration be able to email the report? I just see there's an attachment there, a slide set that, just in case we want to access that. And then we can ensure that any councillors not in attendance have a copy as well. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. And I'll just ask if anybody has any questions regarding Deputy Reeve Clausen's report, either to reach out to him directly, or you can request to add it to the agenda at our next meeting. We'll move to agenda item 3.3.
Thank you. My report is on page 95. Yes. So a couple things to highlight. Busy month for Strathmore Wheatland Chamber of Commerce. I attended board meeting and events committee meeting. We're getting ready for next events. First one is Small Business Week. It's actually October 12th to 21st. I have the dates wrong in my package. So we're hoping to partner with Community Futures, or at least promote their events that they're holding. I don't think we have anything specifically organized for that. Cookie Walk, November 25th, same day as the Santa Claus Parade, and that's to benefit some downtown businesses in Strathmore. And then BEAs are coming up at the end of January, so that's always a big one to coordinate. So lots of activities going on there. I also participated in some in-person business survey visits with some businesses in Strathmore, just to talk to business owners about what services they would like to see from the chamber. We've heard some feedback from some that maybe they're not seeing the value in the events that we're putting on, and maybe we need to get back to more of a networking. And so we are doing that as well. So that's a good response to that kind of feedback. So, and then the second Coffee Connection was held, and due to a scheduling conflict, I did miss that, but it was at First Place in Strathmore. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a really unique venue that can be used for family, corporate, or social events. It's part accommodation, part meeting room. It's like a house that has lots of sleeping areas, but it also has a big open concept room that can be used for meetings or retreats or anything you can think of, really. So it's really, it's unique. I wish I'd been there to see it in person. I've just seen pictures online, so it looks lovely. Wheatland Housing Management Body, also a very busy month. The policy committee, which I'm on, met with Vicki to review the board manual and the policies. And because we were able to use some policies from another housing management body, we have a really great start on kind of revamping things and trying to organize them in a better manner and streamline and standardize the policies so they all kind of look the same. I also was involved with the HR committee participating with CUPE negotiations, which we finalized on September 27th, and now they go to the union for ratification. So we're hoping that we will have a new contract for those staff soon. One thing that came up with the governance review that we had there as well, which I'll go into next, we were sort of told that the board should not be involved in operations of the housing body. We should try to stay to governance, and I asked Chair Kester and CEO Vicki Cook about whether participating with union negotiations would be considered an operational matter, and maybe the board had been just doing that because of some previous history of doing that. But Vicki was going to go to the ASHA conference, regional conference today, and ask some of her colleagues if they do, and I think that it is a normal practice for board members to be involved in union negotiations, but we'll clarify that. So it's just a question that I had coming out of the governance review. And so that is the next thing on my list. And so the September 21st meeting, we received a report from Doug Lagore, the Transitional Services Inc., on the governance review. So I'll just be honest, the first section I wasn't real happy with, because in the analysis and findings, he does say that not one of the Wheatland County representatives has raised concerns about governance at the Wheatland Housing Management Body board table. And I feel like I have consistently done that. So I raised this question at the meeting, but it was argued that this statement refers to the letter from Wheatland County Council that was sent to the Minister of Seniors, Community and Social Services regarding the governance issues we saw. And so they felt that that letter should have gone to the board before being sent to the minister. And so I think, sadly, having sent that letter, the report really focused on that and not really on the actions or activities or efforts that I feel like I've been putting forward at those meetings. So I think that's unfortunate. However, so I think there are some things that we could learn from the report. Mr. Legore provided interesting feedback on our oversight of the board. He related it to being similar to a school board where they requisition tax money through a municipality. And he reminded us that this is not our tax money. We would never ask a school board how they are spending their money that they are requisitioning through us. So that is something to keep in mind. And as an aside, I sent a question to Mr. Legore through Chair Castor about the effectiveness of municipal representation on a board like this, but I haven't received an answer. So I feel like if we aren't accountable to our ratepayers, then why would we be appointed as a municipal representative through a ministerial order? So I just wondered and put this forward to him if this board would not be better served by a group of elected members of the public rather than us as representatives if we're not meant to represent our ratepayers. So that's just a question for him. I'm waiting an answer for that. So I will let you know what comes of that, if anything. He also stated, and I think this is an important thing, that he stated there are no conflicts in having Chair Castor sit on the Personnel Committee, even though he is related to the CAO. His rationale is that Glenn is only one of the 3 members of the committee, and any decisions coming from the committee are decided at the board level. So he feels he carries very little weight when he sits on that committee. And then he recommended 32 actions that would put the housing board in better governance position. So I guess my takeaway of that is that the governance review was necessary and timely. And I guess at this point, I'm just hopeful that the board will implement as many recommendations as they can as soon as possible. So I am open to any questions, of course. Otherwise, I will move my report as presented.
Any questions regarding Councillor Laprise's report? So I do have a couple of questions. Sorry, I was trying to attend to your verbal report and also look for the spot, but I recall seeing a reference to one of our specific board members. And I don't believe the report was attached in our agenda package.
No, so the report was presented to the board on September 21st, and they did notice a couple of errors that they wanted Mr. Legore to go back and fix or re-research or whatever. So it's not final yet, and I would have attached it to my report, except that it was included in the board package, which hasn't been approved in the minutes. So yeah, once it is, I would certainly offer it as information. But at this point, no, it's not. I guess it's been distributed, but it's not public.
Okay.
Yet, I would say.
So from discussion with a couple of board members who had reviewed the report, I do have a couple of questions and just concerns, and maybe it's good that it hasn't gotten final approval because perhaps there's an opportunity. I know another body that we have councillors that sit on, there were some amendments made to a governance review report that was presented to their board prior to it being finalized, and the consultant was open to that. I do have a couple of things that perhaps could be raised to the board, or perhaps they've been raised already. But I believe that there was a reference to one of the specific board members. I have some concerns around that, particularly because my understanding is the issue that was raised had already been addressed to the board, and that was not possibly recognized in the report. And as well, I did have some concerns raised that Wheatland County is specifically referenced, and I find that curious that a consultant who has been retained to do a governance review of an autonomous housing board, I find it curious that for them to comment on the autonomy of our council. Wheatland County Council has, I think, the purview to take concerns forward to other levels of government or whichever body might have jurisdiction or authority. We do so in multiple matters that are outside of our specific scope or jurisdiction. Some recent examples I can think of are even around resolutions that go forward to RMA. We have taken resolutions forward regarding things like healthcare, seniors housing specifically. We've even been asked by board chairs as a council to take forward matters to the province that are certainly outside of our scope of jurisdiction. EMS is a specific example where healthcare would be within the purview of the province and federal. There's some federal funding interplay there as well, but certainly not something that is typically within the scope of municipal jurisdiction. And so for the report to reference that and speak to that, I find that curious, and I think it's unfortunate that that's integrated into the report. I would, I guess, ask if there is a council appetite to direct board members to request to have the report be amended to remove references to us as an autonomous, duly elected, also autonomous body, who I believe do have a responsibility where we see issues to raise them to the appropriate authorities. I think it's safe to say that if there was, an issue, we can use the school board example. If there was a significant issue with education in this area and it was causing, significant issues and, discussion and concern and that type of thing, that I think there would be an expectation that we would add our voices to the voices that are concerned about that. We are in the unique position because we do have multiple roles that at times we are aware of issues that perhaps the public may not be aware of if there's, not a high level of transparency. Our council deliberations are very highly transparent. Our meetings are recorded, our minutes are all public. Anybody can access those and review those, and we're held to account through that. I know, there are things that have been brought to my attention where people have concerns with that. Where there's a challenge is if we are appointed to a board that does not have that same level of transparency for people to be aware of. I would be curious if the ministry would be providing direction that we should be, not addressing those concerns. And I would echo you. It's been clear that multiple board members have brought concerns to Wheatland Housing Management Body. We as a council have sent concerns, whether it be through more formally through a letter or less formally through representatives of Wheatland County or appointees of Wheatland County. Maybe representative isn't the right word, but board members who have been appointed by Wheatland County Council to serve on Wheatland Housing Management Body, where they may become aware of concerns that the general public just would not necessarily have an opportunity to be aware of. So I would be curious for some direction from the ministry what the best approach is. Upon consideration of some of the consultants' comments, perhaps the letter should just go directly from, a couple of board members to the ministry if they're finding that they're not getting satisfactory responses by bringing it directly to a board that we sit on. And that could be, we would need that direction for any board that we sit on. This is a unique situation, as you referenced, in the fact that we are mandated as Wheatland County Council to be a part of this. And I respect and appreciate the comments around the requisitioning authority, and that is a strong authority. But again, that calls into question, what is the mechanism where there are governance concerns to have those addressed. And so I think that's something good to explore, perhaps with the minister. We can either address it now or when we get to the correspondence, but we did have a response from the minister regarding our letter. And my preference would be to follow up with some more detailed information for the ministry regarding our concerns. And I might, at council's will, whether there's an appetite to, perhaps we can address that during the correspondence, just because that's more directly related to that. But I think it's good to just see if what council's, the majority of council's direction is regarding the governance review report, because I think there is potentially an opportunity there to rectify some of the concerns if the board were in agreement, of course, but for our representatives to bring those forward if there is an avenue to do so. So I'll open it up for a comment or discussion from anybody else. So the two key things that I've heard that I have concerns are just around the specific reference to us as an autonomous, duly elected municipality, using the means that we had available to address concerns that were not being addressed through other avenues. And then the reference to one of the representatives who I believe would not be sitting on that board if we had not appointed them, and for their name to be specifically referenced in the report, I have concerns around that. So I'll open it up. Councillor Laverson.
So with regard to the Wheatland County being mentioned in that report, that was something, so Mr. Legore watched the July 4th council meeting where it was discussed at this table, the role of the Wheatland Housing Management Body and what was to be done with it, and that's what he considered appropriate. So you made it public. So I don't know that there's a concern with that. And certainly requisitions have been challenged in the past, which he's said that is not supposed to get done. So I was fairly happy with the report. As one councillor from Strathmore said, there's enough blame to go all around. So I won't support anything further.
Thank you, Councillor Laverson.
So I guess one of the what he was really talking about in this analysis and findings, saying that we haven't been bringing these issues as representatives. So, I mean, I am happy to take this to the next board meeting to open this discussion on the report and ask if the board would support modifying the report to, I don't know how far that would go, but I can certainly bring it forward.
Yeah, I think it's critical because I think there is strong evidence suggesting that statement within the report does not reflect accurately. So I think it might be prudent to send some kind of correspondence to the board, perhaps pointing to some of the evidence where concerns have been brought forward, and hopefully the board will be open to an amendment so that the report is as accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with waiting until to see what the amended report is looking like before we do anything. Like I've got concerns. I don't want to make them public right now, but I have concerns. But yeah, no, I'm willing to see what the discussion is and how the report is amended.
So yeah, I guess individual board members, you know, you've heard the discussion here. I'm not sure that we need council direction, and it sounds like that would potentially not be appropriate. But I do appreciate the reporting. I do have some questions too that we'll just need to sort out, because we do have, you know, for example, an expectation, I think it's actually within policy, that we bring a report back in order to be compensated for attendance at meetings. And so I do find it curious, and hopefully we can get some direction on how we appropriately address issues that might arise from reporting to us as a municipal council for these bodies, if there's some sort of limit in terms of us being able to address issues that may arise. And there has been obviously some specific issues that have arisen that have potential consequences. And where I really struggle is just from the moral kind of ethical position of, as a municipality, when we are expected to appoint board members and then there's potential negative consequences for those board members for their work on an autonomous board. That's where I struggle, is if we're exposing people to either reputational risk or potential liability or things like that. And we need to fill those board seats. So I'm sure this will be an iterative conversation going forward and we can seek some clarity, but I certainly support the idea of reserving any further action until we give the board an opportunity to address concerns that have been brought forward and until we have a final report to review. So I think that's prudent and appreciate that. I appreciate the update from the meeting and the perspectives that have been shared. Any other questions regarding Councillor Laprise's report? I do want to thank you for all your work with the Chamber as well. I know I've talked to a few Wheatland County businesses that have really appreciated the direction that the Chamber has been going and the work that they're doing, and it's not going unrecognized, so we appreciate that. And please pass that on to the Chamber as well.
Will do. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? And did you move your report? Wonderful. I'll call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 3.4.
Yeah, my report didn't get in time, but I see it in front of everybody now. I have attached the WADEM's approved minutes. They're always behind. These are June, I believe. And you can read those. Then I also wanted to bring up Nutrien. It was an amazing tour. Their safety, their business model is amazing. It's been a long, long time since I've been able to be in there. I don't even want to say how many years. And just how it's been a long-term business for our county and a very respected business. And I'm glad that we could go out and tour it. In saying that, I'm wondering if do we bring this into our remuneration? Do we need an acceptance to ratify? Words don't always come.
Yes, through the chair, yes. If council wants to be remunerated for that trip, they would just need to make a motion.
I'd like to make that motion, actually. And yeah, after that, I have something else too. Do we call that before or after?
We could address your report first, and then we could do that as a secondary motion following that.
I would like to move my report as presented.
Any questions or discussion? We'll call the question. Motion is carried. And then administration has put a potential motion for ratification of council attendance at the Nutrien tour. So it should be on your screen.
I'd like to ratify council attendance at the Nutrien tour on September 27th, 2023.
Any questions or discussion? Call the question.
I'm also wondering if we could have maybe tours or things that all of council are invited to. Talk about that at the committee of the whole. committee of the whole? I just have some thoughts around it.
The previous motion was carried. Would you like to put a motion
Oh,
forward?
that needs a motion?
I think it just makes it easier for administration to track.
It should have a motion, yes.
Okay.
So
I'll
just
move-
to add a discussion around council attendance at tours or
Yeah,
events.
I'd like to add a discussion at the committee of the whole, next committee of the whole about counselor tours, business tours. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the motion? Call the question. Motion is carried. We can move to agenda item 3.5.
My apologies, I did not get up, so I have to do this and bore you guys to tears. So September 5th, council meeting, September 12th, they had MPC, September 19th, it was council. September 20th, we had a WRC meeting out in Standard. The 21st, there was a Wheatland Housing Management Board. The 22nd, went to Sewa, the AGM out in Vulcan, and I'm always amazed at you can have so many people in the room, and they're all sort of looking for the same. They're looking for they've got the same focus point, and the thing I'm really impressed with is they've been doing this for probably 15 years now, I think. And there were, I don't know if there was the majority of them, but there was a bunch of them saying it doesn't matter if it isn't us that gets this done, this energy to waste thing. It just needs to get done because energy to waste is the way to go in the future. And it was just very, very nice to see that. Now, having said that, now they're working their way into, there was an awful lot of sausage being made as they did bylaws and all this kind of stuff. So part of it was painful, but it was necessary work to be done. On the 26th, I went up Wheatland Housing Management Board. I met the roofing consultant. The lodge is going to need a new roof. So I just walked through spent 2 hours on the roof with the consultant, pointing out, in my opinion, what needs to be on the scope of work and all this kind of stuff. And the consultant will be bringing back a report, I believe, at the next Wheatland Housing Management meeting. 27th went to Nutrien, and that was an absolutely wonderful tour. I realize I'm getting old because 47 years ago, I was working on that plant, and the amount of work that they've done over the years, like the plant was big when I was there, but it is massive now, and what they've done and the amount of what technology has allowed them to do to cut down their carbon footprint and what they've managed to do, like the stuff that used to be just wasted, they've managed to turn that into a sellable product. It was a very amazing operation, and it's that whole area there is actually like a wonderment because it's close to Calgary, and yet there was nothing that the county actually did to cite that. I mean, it was just, there was a couple of individuals in the area that were able to bring that in, and so Nutrien came in, which was
I agree. Cominco.
yeah, it was Cominco, and then everything just sort of expanded around Cominco. Then CIL went down the road, and then it's just amazing. And that was done by a couple of individuals in the county that I'm still working on a way to put their name on something, because the amount of the taxation base on that is just the fact that we're able to keep our land taxes down so much for the farmers is because we have those kind of businesses in the county. So it was great. So with that, I will move my report.
Thank you, Councillor Eckert. Any questions for Councillor Eckert? If not, all in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 3.6. And I don't believe there was a written report in the agenda. Just double checking. So perhaps we could defer this. I should look at my cheat sheet. We could do we could table a motion regarding this agenda item to the next council meeting when Councillor Kester is here to present a report. So then we would need a motion to table. Council's wishes.
I'll make a motion to table Councillor Kester's report until the next meeting he's able to attend.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? I almost did it too. So. I'll try and use call the question. It sounds different. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 3.7.
My report's in the handout. If there isn't any questions, I'll move my report.
Any questions for Councillor Lawerson?
I guess I just curious what a meeting Class C is. Haven't seen that before.
It's the Class C budget for the Wheatland Housing. It's for submission. We have to have
Oh,
several
right, the
classes of
budget.
budget.
Yep.
Yeah, so I should have put budget in that. Yeah,
I got it. Okay, thanks.
that was my oversight. Thanks, Donna.
Any other questions regarding Councillor Lawerson's report? Call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 4.1.
Good morning, Council. Brian from Administration. On page 100 of your agenda package is the CAO monthly report for September. And within that report is also the council resolution tracker, which starts on page 103. Just two notes to council is that this Friday is the CRMA meeting in Lacombe County. So council has an invitation, all of council has an invitation for that one. If you do have any questions about that, please let me know. And administration is also organizing with Foothills County to have an informal meet up with our council as well, just for council members. And that will be organized, and all of council will be informed of that when that does happen, or more details are provided. If there are any other questions about my report, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions for CAO Henderson? Council's wishes.
I just have a quick question. What date did you say that Lacombe?
Friday.
This Friday.
Yes, this Friday.
I think you should have a calendar invite.
Yes, it's on October 6th, and it is, I believe it starts at 10 a.m. The agenda should also be in your in the email attachment as well. We modified that one, so the whole agenda's in there.
Thank you. With that, I'll move we accept the September 2023 Chief Administrative Office report as information.
Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. Second motion.
I'll move that council accept the October 3rd, 2023 council resolution tracker as information.
Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 4.12.
Yes, good morning, Council. Brian from administration again. On page 110 of your agenda is the 2023 organizational chart and pay grade changes. So a very minor change on the organizational chart and pay grade. So we are moving the GIS coordinator down to a GIS technician. So that's just moving a position down from grid C to grid D. The purpose for that is just the scope of the position has changed. So we're no longer implementing the Esri program. So this position is also currently vacant as well. We're currently advertising for this position as well and just making an appropriate change to that compensation and position description. If there's any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions? Council's wishes?
I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve amendments to Human Resource Policy 6.2.1 pay structure and 6.4.1 organizational chart.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 4.21.
Good morning, Council. Tracy from administration. Just a few highlights from the report to Council for September 2023. Approximately 85% of the reinspection cycle for improved parcels located within range 23 and 24 are completed. We have also completed reviewing and sending invoices related to the wildfire response this past summer up north. And staff have been very busy in August and September compiling the 2024 operating and capital budgets. The September TIP installment for all enrolled applicants was 1.36 million. Also, property tax reminder notices were mailed out for outstanding balances. The replacement of the manual credit card authorization request process is complete, and the new system is in use and allows for requesting payments online. Any questions?
Any questions regarding the report? Council's wishes.
I'll move that Council accept the Corporate and Financial Services September 2023 report as information.
Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 4.3.
Good morning, Sherry Vars with Community and Development Services to present the September 2023 Department Report. It's found on page 123 of your agenda package, and I don't have anything additional to add at this time, and am available for any questions.
Any questions regarding the report? If not, Council's wishes. Councilor Laverson.
I'll move that Council accepts the September 2023 Community and Development Services Report as information.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? I'll call the question.
There you go.
You got it?
And everybody that was waiting.
Motion is carried. I will just draw attention to the signs that have been put up by the Nameka Historical Society. They have placed some really striking signs that show the location of all of the former school sites in the Nameka district. So there was some funds available within the society, and they decided to use them for these signs. So you'll see there's one just south of the county office where the Harwood school site was. There's one of the Nameka Community Hall site where the former Nameka school site was. I think we actually have a map as well. I'm not sure. Could we put that map up on our website that just shows the placement of those signs? I can get a copy of it for you if you don't have one.
Sure. We'll,
It's just a neat.
if we do have one, yeah. We'll,
Yeah. It's a neat just piece of history to those historical school sites to mark those, and kind of neat to see. So just a thank you to the Historical Society for that project. And motion was carried.
And just an aside to that, because we're actually, there's going to be a request brought forward to the Cheetah Lions Club to see what historical school sites are on.
Maybe to
are
expand it.
in the Cheetah area there. So I'm aware of a couple. So it's always interesting to find out, like, just to see how many schools there were at one point in time in order to, because I guess evidently you couldn't go that far on horseback. So.
Or barefoot uphill. Yeah, it really is interesting to see, and it's been a really interesting project as Marguerite has developed that, and yeah, just phenomenal historical work done by that society. We'll move to agenda item 4.41.
Good morning, Council. Brad Bullock presenting the September Transportation and Agriculture Department report. On page 131 of the agenda is the capital projects. So some of the projects and activities that the department is working on are highlighted in the first few pages of the report. The Gleason Access Road, Township 222 from Township 224, and Township 224 from Range Road 260 to Highway 24. The seal coat overlaying was completed about mid-September. Crews have begun roadside brushing operations and bridge-size culvert installations. And snow fence installations around the county will begin installation in about in mid-October. Under our project management, we are continuing with the West Side servicing studies. So some of the things that we're completing right now is a comparison to some of the further investigation of some of the other options already investigated, but scaled down to the water volumes that would be accessible through the East Calgary Regional Water Line. And so originally, these studies were done for servicing the whole of the ASP, but we want to do a direct comparison to what the costs and opportunities would be if they were scaled down to a similar capacity as what's available to the county and the East Calgary Regional Water Line. We're also kicking off a study for accessing municipal water through groundwater wells. So looking for potential viable locations where there would be adequate flows for substantial enough flows for accessing water through water wells for municipal use, which would then be treated. So that study will address if there are locations where there is adequate water supply, and then what the treatment would look like if the county were to go that direction, either in the short term or potential long term. On page 132, it's just highlighted that there was some damage done at the Gleason truck water fill station some time ago, and those repairs have been completed and were complete as of September 14th. The Carsland Lagoon release, annual release that we do from the Carsland Lagoon is scheduled for September 27th, and the landowner letters to the landowners have been issued informing them of that. Also, something I've highlighted at the bottom of page 132 is our Hamlet foreman did attend the 2023 ARMA conference in Grand Prairie on behalf of Wheatland County to accept the 2023 Collection Site Award of Excellence recognizing the Wheatland West Waste Transfer Site for providing recycling services in an organized, convenient, and safe manner for residents. On page 133 is some information in regards to the activities of our agricultural and environment team. I know that this will be presented in detail to the Agriculture Service Board tomorrow, so I'll leave that as my report, and I'm here for any questions.
Any questions regarding transportation or agriculture?
I'll move that council accepts the September 2023 Transportation and Agriculture Department report as information.
Thank you, Councillor Laprise. Any questions or discussion? I'll just note if you could pass along congratulations on behalf of council for the Collection Site Award of Excellence. I think it's nice when exceptional work is recognized, and I'm proud that we have that level of service being recognized in our county. So please pass that along to all the team members that make that happen. It's something to be proud of for sure.
Certainly.
Something that I think when we do well, we take for granted, and but I know people are really grateful for our waste management within the county, and just not something we always think about. So please thank them for their work as well. Any other questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. Brings us to our final agenda item, correspondence. We did have a few pieces of correspondence. We have a reply from the Deputy Premier and Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services regarding our letter with the request for watch clerk funding to be considered in the funding formula. At this time, that's not going to be contemplated by the province. I think that is something we can continue to advocate for. We also had a thank you from the Village of Standard regarding the infrastructure grant. A thank you and an outline of how those funds were used. There was also some correspondence regarding a development decision and an LPRT ruling. There was also a response from the Minister of Seniors, Community and Social Services regarding our concerns. And then correspondence from Staff Sergeant Harms with the RCMP detachment in Drumheller. Given the discussion previously, I would perhaps ask that we contemplate a future agenda item regarding the governance concerns with WHMB. If we could have perhaps a motion to schedule that for once the governance report has been made public or been finalized by the Wheatland Housing Management Body Board. If council could perhaps defer consideration of a potential response to the ministry until after that report is complete. Council's wishes. I think a motion would probably be good just so we have it on the agenda in the future, if there's council's wishes.
So I'll move that when the final report for the Wheatland Housing Management Governance Review is finalized, that we'll discuss at a future meeting after that. Well said.
Is there any questions regarding the motion? I'll call the question. And then the other piece of correspondence that requires a response is Staff Sergeant Harm's inquiry about whether we would like to meet at the RMA. The RCMP High Command will be in attendance to meet with organizations that wish to meet. Is there an appetite to meet with? So it's usually like,
I'll leave it up to everybody else. It seems to be the same outcome on every meeting, so I don't know if it does any good. I suppose you should probably show that you try to bring forward your concerns. I mean, I'm still in shock in this, on this rave thing, that an operation that was openly promoting the use of hard drugs was not shut down. So maybe that alone, that question alone needs to be brought up, that, you know, if you don't enforce a law, then you know the law is going to be broken. If they did, you know, you can say all you want to say, but if you didn't do any traffic enforcement out there, any speeding enforcement, everybody would speed. So if you refuse to enforce a law, then that law there'll be more people breaking that law or whatever, not. So maybe I'll move that we schedule a meeting with Sergeant Harms and the RCMP at RMA.
any questions or discussion on the motion? I support the motion. I have been getting some correspondence from ratepayers and different communication about increasing concerns just around rural crime again. I feel like it had been on a downward trajectory over the last couple of years. I think multiple factors affecting that, but certainly some increased concerns again in my division specifically. There has been some reach out to Gleason Detachment from ratepayers. I would like to follow up with that with Gleason Detachment specifically, potentially prior to meeting with K Division at RMA. And it might be prudent also to consider requesting to meet with RCMP, with the detachment commander from Strathmore regarding those concerns just prior to discussing it at a higher level as well, just have an opportunity to discuss it with the local detachments. And then I think just given the complexity of rural crime, regardless of the outcomes of the discussion with the local detachments, I wouldn't mind taking it to RMA just so that we can have that broader discussion as well. So I support your motion. I might request consideration of a follow-up motion just to request Gleason RCMP and Strathmore RCMP perhaps to join us in a council meeting just prior to RMA to have some discussions before we hold that future meeting at RMA. I don't know other councillors' thoughts. I don't know if it's county-wide or if it's something, if it's only my division as well, I could just follow up with Gleason more independently. But if there's broader concerns, then I'm happy for us to do it, you know, at a council level, open to any feedback.
Well, I think it's a really good idea to have a local discussion before bringing it to, it's always a good way to go. So I support that. I haven't heard anything, but that doesn't mean there's nothing happening in my division. I just don't know about it.
Okay. So you would be supportive of
Yes.
requesting Gleason. And
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything in the areas that Bazzano, Drumheller, or Bicyker would police. But if anybody has heard in those areas, we could certainly invite them as well. Seeing no's.
Complaints from my division.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have a motion on the floor regarding the inquiry for, or the request for, or our ability to request a meeting at RMA. Any other questions or discussion regarding that? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. Then perhaps a follow-up motion requesting a meeting with Gleason and Strathmore Detachment Commanders.
I'll move that we set up a meeting with Strathmore and Gleason RCMP detachments before our meeting.
Yeah, if possible, obviously, with their scheduling considerations. Any questions or discussion?
Just about the motion, are we scheduling a meeting with them, or are we scheduling for them to come to a council meeting?
My hope would be a request that they would meet with council.
Yeah.
If we could perhaps amend your motion. So for council to direct administration to request Gleason and Strathmore Detachment Commanders meet with our council or attend our council. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Motion is carried. And was there any other actions that anybody would like to discuss from any of the correspondence? If not, a motion to accept the correspondence.
I'll move to accept the correspondence.
Thank you, Councillor Eckert. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. And that completes all of our business on our agenda today. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.